Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'd like to talk about how ideas are found in the textbook I can see working in my own life. Basically how psychological concepts that I found in the textbook correlate with my own life experience. This first idea has to do with operant conditioning and positive feedback. Operant conditioning is where someone or some animal is trained to do something because when it does task X, it gets rewarded with reward Y or something like that. Now for me, this example comes from my last year at school in America. Now I took organic chemistry last year, and organic chemistry is a pretty difficult class. I had to do a lot of practice problems to really master the content. And doing these practice problems really helped me out because I would do a practice problem, I would take the answer, and if I got it right, I would feel a little good about myself, right? I would think, wow, I did it right, that's so great, that's sweet. And I did that quite a lot. I spent hours and hours doing practice problems. I conditioned myself to learn how to do the problems. Because I felt good afterwards, I felt good after completing a problem correctly, I trained myself. Using positive feedback, I conditioned myself to be able to do organic chemistry. Now, when I was reading about classical conditioning, I couldn't help but think about my dog Willow back home. We have conditioned our dog to carry out various conditioned responses based on our conditioned stimuli. One example of this could be whenever my mother says whoops in the kitchen, because that means she's dropped something on the floor and there's now food on the floor for the dog to eat. The same concept holds true whenever we say, Willow, what's in your bowl? And she'll run to her bowl expecting some morsel of human food to be there. The same concept also applies to a number of words my dog has learned. If we say, Willow, do you want a bath? She'll run away because she associated the word bath with getting cleaned upstairs. If we say, Willow, do you want to go for a walk? Again, she associates the word walk with going for a walk. She associates the conditioned stimulus, saying the word walk, with the conditioned response, actually going for a walk.
I've conditioned my roommate to salivate at the sound of me turning on my computer.
Operant conditioning also reminded me of my dog back home. If you think about it, all tricks a dog learns is essentially through operant conditioning, specifically shaping behavior. Now, whenever we taught our dog a new trick, we'd always do it in steps. Say we were training her to roll over. First, she would get a treat simply for lying down on the ground. Then she would get a treat for rolling on her side slightly. Then she would get a treat for rolling all the way over. That same concept applies to every single trick we've ever taught her, like sitting and speaking and shaking. Moving on to chapter 7, something that caught my attention was this idea of echoic memory on page 198. This is under the section of sensory memory, where unlike explicit memory where we can almost visualize the information, sensory memory is where we can remember something only for a moment, like remember a snapshot of an image or barely remember what something else sounds like. For me, something I've realized about myself is that I can't remember the spellings of words very well. If someone spells their name for me, I won't be able to write it down immediately because when letters are arranged sequentially like that, they just don't fit my brain for some reason. But sometimes I can remember what they sound like enough for me to sound them out for myself again a few moments later, and then I can write them down for later use. But this is something I've noticed in my own life, that I do have a echoic memory, that even if I can't explicitly make a memory about what the spelling was, I can briefly remember what the spelling sounded like enough for me to repeat it in my brain again and then fully remember it and then write it down for use. Moving on to chapter 8, something that got my attention were the ideas of confirmation bias and belief perseverance. Confirmation bias just simply means that we seek evidence to support the beliefs we already hold, and belief perseverance simply means that we like to believe in the same things, even if there's clear evidence against it. Now, as a Christian and a science major, for years I've been acquiring arguments and proofs as to why evolution must be false and intelligent design must be true, just looking at the complexity of life and how there's no way it could have evolved by mere chance. So over years I've been logically determining these reasons and arguments as to why there has to be a God, so I can work with science and still be a Christian. And when I read this section, I thought to myself, well, perhaps my logic that I used to come to that conclusion is false. The logic is supported by my own mind, which supposedly has this belief perseverance and confirmation bias. So can I really trust what my brain has intuitively proven? After all, I've believed in God for far longer than I've been able to understand evolution. Fortunately, there is a solution actually found in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, which says, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made." What that means is that if we observe what's been made, creation, we can know that there is a God out there somewhere. For just from observing nature, we can see clearly that there has to be a creator out there. There has to be a divine being that made all of this. There's no way this could have arrived by chance. So, fortunately, we can see that we are not plagued by confirmation bias and belief perseverance here. We can use logic and reason to understand that there really is a God out there. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.